The Gen 2 Makita 7¼ inch circular saw is here, almost a half-pound heavier than the previous model and boasting 1,200 more RPM. Today we're going to take an inside look at what makes this new model an upgrade from the previous one. We gave both Gen 1 and Gen 2 saws to foreman AJ Delancey to test them out on the job site. Then, looked inside with Chris Cousins at the Ohio Power Tool Repair Shop. We used their professional insights to give you an inside look at this Gen 2 36-volt Makita 7¼ inch circular saw. First, we wanted feedback on the performance and features of the Gen 1 and Gen 2 Makita saws from a professional. We'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, my name is AJ Delancey, and we're here at the Balanced Family Academy. I work with AD Enterprises as the foreman here. So we've been framing up this building here for a couple months now. We're nearing the end. This is the Gen 1 Makita 36-volt saw. Right now I use this saw for cross-cutting all our lumber and then making long rips and cutting all the sheeting around here, all the blocking, things like that. Actually, it's surprisingly solid. I've actually never used Makita battery tools. We have a couple quarter tools that we've used for years. They're great. I was always, I looked at these and I thought they were kind of goofy. I thought that they'd be kind of hefty, but actually very pleasantly surprised. It's a nice, the way they do the footprint, it's well balanced and it feels nice in the hand, and surprising amount of power. Very smooth, it's a pleasure to use actually. Really, there's not a whole lot of cons with this thing. I mean, one of the things, I've made a lot of custom bevels around here, and the graduated marks on the saw are not very defined at all. And I don't like ambiguity in my work. I like to be very accurate. So I mean, some of these bevels I was kind of guessing at what they would be. That's one of the drawbacks. And really, other than that, I mean, it's a great saw. I mean, the runtime's excellent. It's got more than enough power. There's not much bad to say about it really at all.
So overall, the Gen 1 is a great saw. Here's what AJ thought about the new Gen 2 model.
So this is the Generation 2 model, and it actually has a little more power. It runs at 6,000 RPM, which actually makes a big difference, just that little bump. I mean, you get a lot smoother cuts, a lot more performance out of it. I mean, the runtime and everything seems to be similar. I got quite a bit, the similar amount of work out of each saw. And really, it's quite a bit louder too, and another difference is I do love the safety switch they have on here. It's much easier to use. Actually, it's just a slight, it's very easy to access and operate without even thinking about it, really. One of the things I do not like about this actually is, I don't know what they've done with the guard. It's just got a little bit of extra material here that you have to it's one of those things you just have to get used to. You kind of have to lift up on it and it's a little annoying, but that's really the only drawback I have with that saw is sometimes it gets caught up and you can't push through your material smoothly. Actually has excellent dust collection. If you're in an indoor environment where that's a problem, I mean, this thing offers a great dust solution. And I love the, you can actually check the battery gauge right here on top of the saw without having to, that's a nice feature too. They're very similar. I mean, it is more powerful. They're both silky smooth, great saws.
Looks like Makita has made AJ a new fan. After we got AJ's insight on how they perform on the job site, we took them to Chris Cousins at Ohio Power Tool to take an inside look at some of the updates to the engineering and design. Here's what we found.
We're looking at the Gen 1 XSH01 versus the Gen 2 XSH06. World of difference here. A little bit of difference on weight, but there's a lot of improvements. It's also brushless, whereas the 01 is not. You can see the difference in the main component here being the rotor assembly as far as length and the way it's set up. They've moved the controller assembly into the motor housing to encompass it. They've upgraded the battery display here from, you can see on the 01, it just shows the battery itself. And on the 06, you have bars, just like on the backs of your battery, so you can see how much life is left, which is a pretty neat advancement. They've taken most of the wiring for the brushless model and put it around the controller inside the motor housing, whereas on the old one, it was in the handle assembly. Other subtle changes on the 01, you have the thumb down trigger lock. On the 06, you have the slide. Also added to the 06 is an LED circuit with a light on the back side of your motor that shines down on your work. You can see it right there. And then on the 06, now they have a window that you can view straight down and see the cut, see where your blade lays. Whereas on the 01, you had to stand off to the side and actually look down at an angle. So that's pretty major, I think, for the user. The blade lock on this one, on the older models, just kind of floats, which can become a chatterbox at time when it's worn. On the newer model, they've put a screw in there to where everything just kind of stays. It's got a heavier spring in it now. A lot of the open circuitry on the older one, I've noticed, is now integrated into this assembly as well. So you don't have all these little boards kind of just floating around inside your handle. The only changes on the foot, other than the window on the 06 that I noticed, is the ruler display on this one. They etched it in instead of having the big black sticker. Also, one thing I noticed, on the older models, you have a guard mount to your foot to where it kind of just swings over. And on the 06 model, it's a center mount that comes down. You know, the rigid aspect of it as far as being stable and more balanced, also to get out of the way of the window. The differences between the first and the second, a lot of advancements. They definitely have the user in mind. A lot of jumps that you wouldn't commonly see from one model to the next. As far as the predecessor goes, the advancements are amazing. Definitely beneficial.
All right, thanks, Chris, and thanks also to AJ for sharing their insight and expertise. That's going to do it for the inside look at the Gen 1 and Gen 2 Makita 36-volt 7¼ circular saws. For more details about the new Makita, be sure to check out the links in the description below. And thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, that means you should probably like and subscribe. Then I'll mean it when I say, we'll see you next time.